Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We'll go ahead and let Kryssie Pratt get started. Thank you so much, Kryssie, for doing this session today. We can't wait to hear what you have to share.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. Welcome, everyone. Today, I will be sharing with you about some unplugged activities to help after-school educators inspire a new generation of computer scientists. And this program is called the Building Blocks of Computer Science. So my name is Kryssie Smith. I work for TechCore, and I'm the manager of programs and curriculum. Prior to being with TechCore, I have been in education for 14 years. I've taught second grade, third grade, special education, middle school technology, and I also taught summer school at the Juvenile Detention Center in Columbus. So I have been in a variety of spaces, and now I work full-time with TechCore, and I work on the curriculum development, teacher professional development side of things. So before we get started, we're just going to do a quick little activity. So I'm going to show this video and then I'll have a follow-up question. So if you are a Severance fan, you might like this. If not, this might give you a little peek into something you might enjoy.
Every time you find yourself here, it's because you chose to come back. Hello, my name is Mark S. And I have, of my own free accord, elected to undergo the procedure known as severance. I give consent to sever my memories between my work life and my personal life. I acknowledge that once the procedure is complete, I will be unable to access my personal memories whilst on the severed floor.
Say gratitude.
Nor will I retain work memories. Sorry, when I return home at the end of the day. I make these statements freely.
Hi, kids. What's for dinner?
We warned you.
About the greeting? You were kidding.
We hate it. How many reasons did we come up with?
8.
Good morning. Hi, Mr. Milchek.
Mark.
Could I have a word?
PD is no longer with this company.
I'm sorry, Mark. You guys are one of my favorite office friendships.
What happened?
We'd love to tell you, but unfortunately, non-disclosure policy forbids.
I confer upon you the advanced role of department chief. Congratulations. A handshake is available upon request.
Thank you. May I have a handshake? Do I know you?
My name's Petey. I'm from work.
So we're friends?
I'm your best friend. Nothing is what they say. I used to think it would take a monster to put someone in a place like that office. Especially if the person was himself. You want to know what's going on down there? Find the beginning of a very long answer.
What's happening?
What is it we actually do here?
Open your eyes, be kind. Do you know how to make your eyes kind?
Okay, so Severance is a TV show, and as you could see from that trailer, it is a procedure where when you go to work, you can't remember any of your memories from home, and when you're at home, you can't remember anything from work. And so working with students, what might be an unintended consequence of the severed method, especially with the work that we do in education? So feel free to go ahead and type in the chat. Let's pull it up here. So what might be an unintended consequence of the severed method within education? And that trailer did get me very excited for the 3rd season, which hopefully won't take years to come out. And as we get some responses here, I will read them out. Emily said, no connection between school and the work world. Absolutely. So when we think about the work that we do in education, a lot of what our personal experiences, the opportunities that we've had in our life and our experiences, which Kim said we learn by experience. Absolutely. So we have experiences that are unique to us and who we are, and that has shaped who we are. So when we go in the classroom, we bring all of these experiences and opportunities with us. And that helps the way we relate to students, the way we interact with students, the way we implement the curriculum, and all of those things impact what we do in education. Courtney said, eliminates real world connection. Absolutely. I loved the end where he's trying to have kind eyes and smile. Because if you think about so many things that we do with students, if you've never had those experiences, it could be difficult for you to connect with students in certain ways. And so that's why we like to advocate for students experiencing a diverse a diverse array of perspectives and experiences from their educators and staff members who are working with them. So important to keep in mind that we have a diverse or wide array of folks with different perspectives, experiences, maybe geographical locations. All of those things help students connect to the curriculum. And so with that, I want to share a little bit about TechCore. So if you have not heard about TechCore, we are the longest running national technology education nonprofit in the United States. And we deliver career-connected technology programs to create opportunities for K-12 students and educators. And we really imagine a world where every student gains the skills, confidence, and opportunities to unlock the door to a successful future. So we know that one thing that prohibits students from achieving a successful future could be the opportunities that they have not had. And so we really work to bring opportunities to students and educators that they may not have otherwise had. And so we really focus on these three areas. All of our programs will build skills for students, increase their confidence, and expand opportunities. We do that through career-connected learning. So we work on, I know these are called different things now, but soft skills, you might know them as durable skills. If you are familiar with the Ohio Means Jobs readiness skills, or if you are in a state that has something similar to that from the Department of Education, where students are trying to learn these skills that will benefit them in a wide range of careers. We really work on not only the technology skills that students will need and those technical skills, but also punctuality, professionalism, work ethic, things like that. And we also work to increase confidence. So many students come to us and they are lacking the confidence to engage in technology experiences because they haven't had the opportunity. So we really make sure that within our programs, we are training staff to really take those opportunities to increase confidence within students. And that also comes with the experiences that they have through programming. And then we expand opportunities. And I'm going to share a little bit about what some of our graduates are doing now, but we really work to bring in industry folks that can actually connect students to careers, and we give them real world experiences. We had an event at the State House this year for our hackathon winners. We really try to take this experience that they have with TechCore and then take it a little bit further so that they're able to expand their opportunities a bit more as they start to look more into technology as a career field, or even just technology as something that they enjoy doing. And we are able to do this through programs, people, and partners. And so we have computer science and IT programs for both students and educators. And these are in the K-12 spaces. So when I say educators, it might be in-school educators, public school, private school, after school time. We've done work with libraries. Really, any educators that are working with students, we have programs for so that they can implement computer science and IT programs and give those students those experiences. We also work with students K-12, and I'll show you a little bit more of the breakdown of those grade levels in just a second. So one thing that we're very proud of is that we recruit, train, and deploy tech-savvy talent to implement programs. And these might be technology professionals, computer science undergrads, education undergrads, classroom teachers, or maybe someone who just has a special interest in technology. We also love that to be an instructor or a staff member, you don't have to have this broad technology knowledge because we train all of our staff. And so we ensure that they have the skills that they need. And really, what we try to instill in students is that you don't have to have this huge background knowledge when you come into a tech core program. And so, in my opinion, I think it makes it even stronger when we're able to say that about our instructors too. And our instructors are able to relate to students and say, hey, look, when I started this, I didn't really know anything about technology either. I actually started with Tech Core as a teacher in a professional development program 10 years ago now. It was called E4 Tech, and it was a 2-year cohort or 3-year cohort where I learned how to implement computer science into mathematics and science. I didn't even know what computer science was. And I was like, oh, this sounds fun. And I joined. And now here I am 10 years later, not only sharing these programs with you, but or actually today at 4 o'clock, I'm flying out to Georgia, and we're doing a training on Friday with staff members there so that they can implement these programs in the summer. So when I say you don't have to have a lot of background knowledge, you just have to be ready to learn and willing to learn. And so we're able to do all of this work through partners. And a lot of all of our programs really are funded through grants or individual, I shouldn't say individual, but corporate partners or some industry entity. So we work with partners to provide students and teachers access to these programs. And so we know that right now companies are trying to invest in the future. So the way you can invest in the future is invest in education, invest in students. And so some of these large companies, Huntington Bank, we've partnered with JP Morgan Chase, Nordson Foundation, all of these places are pouring money into these programs so that they can help prepare the next generation of students and help them to be educated, excited, and empowered to work in a technology career. And because we do this work, students are able to make connections between this technology that they love and they use every day, that they're mostly a consumer of, and they get to learn about pathways associated with being a creator in the technology world. So we really focus on not just consuming, not just being a consumer of our technology. And I know AI is very popular right now, and we really want to work with students and instructors and staff to know that I can go to ChatGPT and I can use ChatGPT as a resource and I'm consuming that resource, or I can be a creator and I can learn how to create chatbots or troubleshoot things in the system. So we want to look at the difference between those two and help students see that they're not just a consumer, they can be a designer and a creator as well. And one of the things we are most proud of is that students who have been historically underrepresented in technology have a safe and supportive learning environment that allows them to safely explore, tinker and learn, and it is low risk because these programs don't go towards their grades. They're able to dive right in, take risks that they maybe wouldn't take. They're not as afraid to make mistakes. And when I say historically underrepresented, that could be rural communities, that could be impoverished communities and urban areas. Anything that you think of where access might be lacking for students. And with our educator programs, the educators receive this support to bring these programs into their classrooms. So like I said, even if you have no prior experience, you come to our programs and you leave knowing more than you came with and feel more prepared to implement these programs in your classroom, because I know that it can be a very scary thing to learn something new and then have to go and implement that on top of everything you're already doing in your program or in your classroom. And we love that our former students are pursuing computer science and IT degrees or enrolling in tech training programs. We really love that our former tech core students come back to give back to the programs as well. So we have former tech core students that become instructors or success coaches or volunteer at some of our bigger events. One of the ladies here in this photo is a new tech core board member, which is very impressive considering that she is very young. And so we love to expand these opportunities for our tech core students, even as they move out of our programs. So in 2024, we had 149 total programs, and we delivered those in 9 different states. So like I said, we are national. We're not just, we are based out of Ohio. We have an office in Columbus in Northeast Ohio. However, we do have programs nationally. So we had 185 volunteers, and the volunteers serve as simulated clients. So for example, one of our programs is a tech support program. It's work-based learning, and students get to have these simulated experiences as if they work as a help desk technician. And we have actual volunteers from the industry come in and work with these students to be mock clients. Same thing with web development. We have people come in and they are mock clients for a website they want. Students design it and get to work with them as if they are an actual client coming to industry for help. And so we also have them as speakers, mentors, judges. They help us with logistics. So we love having volunteers, not only from the industry, but just from the community in general. We served 2,445 students. And we also served 2,610 students through indirect programming, meaning that we trained educators, and those educators went out and implemented programs in their schools or their after-school programs. And then we served 118 educators through CS Ed Week and professional development, which would be the building blocks experience that I'm going to share with you in just a second. So you can see that 59% of our students are boys, 41% are girls. We always want to work to increase our number of girls because we know that, girls are less represented in technology. So when we think about historically underrepresented, this is one of those categories that we're talking about. And if you look at the grade levels here, you can see that most of our programs are high school programs, grades 9 through 12. We do have some pre-apprenticeship programs, which are incredible. I'm not going to talk about those today because if I start doing that, I won't get to what I actually want to talk about because I'm very passionate about those programs and what they do for students. And then we have also grades 3 through 5 and grades 6 through 8 programs. We're working on K2 currently, so we're excited to see this expand as well. You can see our ethnicity breakdown here. So again, when we say historically underrepresented students, we really try to hit that demographic of students who may be lacking access or be underrepresented historically in technology. So in summer 2025, almost 100 programs are taking place in 3 states and reaching nearly 2,000 students. So that's a little bit about Tech Core. I'm going to share with you about the building blocks of computer science today, and this is an educator professional development. And again, when I say educator, this particular program is aimed towards after-school programming. However, it would be something that would be great for educators as well to take into their classrooms. So I'm going to show you a quick video because I think it's much better to hear from the actual participants than to hear from me.
Out-of-school time providers from all over the state of Ohio learn valuable strategies to creatively explore key concepts in computer science using activities without devices. As a Moonshot Catalyst Grant awardee, and with support from the Teaching and Learning Collaborative and the Ohio After School Network, educators explored the building blocks of computer science. TechCore Unplugged lessons are for educators of all skill levels. For some of the participants, this was their first experience with computer science.
I was exposed to a lot of stuff that I had no idea what it was. Again, for the same reason, growing up with not enough resources to kind of go through a coding class or stuff like that. I did feel like I learned a lot of it, and having the people that explain things thoroughly and like kept repeating like, hey, this is this way and stuff, it made me kind of feel good that I was actually learning instead of just sitting and then just listening.
TechCore Unplugged lessons provide a unique opportunity to teach students critical thinking and give them hands-on, engaging experiences in foundational computer science concepts.
No one really does what you guys do. And you do it in a way where I can apply it to kids that need it now. You guys hit every part of it. And like I said, it's engaging. If I do this tomorrow with my kids, I'm gonna have a good time. I already know. I know my kids enough. And like, even if they don't do it, they try it, they learn, they get something, and they don't even know. It's like a Jedi mind trick.
TechCore Unplugged lessons are easy to learn and implement as a gateway to computer science learning. Out-of-school time educators are excited to share unplugged lessons with their students.
All of our kids are predominantly within the Columbus City school system. They're all at the lower level of poverty. My hope is that we can just ignite that flame that is probably flickering within them. They're already excited about technology. We just have to present it to them in a way that makes it fun for learning.
To learn more about TechCore Unplugged lessons, email us at info@techcore.org.
A couple things I want to point out about this video is just that the person you saw speak, Keenan, he is actually on staff full-time with TechCore now. So one thing we love to do is when we say we want to really recruit talent, we really want to recruit talent who has had some kind of experience with TechCore as well. Not everyone on our admin staff is that way, but Keenan was an educator participant. Now he is full-time staff. I was an educator participant. Now I am full-time staff. Abby that you saw in the video, she was a TechCore instructor for a few years, and now she is full-time staff. So we really like to have staff members who can relate to students in different ways, because we have also been in a position where we're learning something new that we never knew before. And to be in a TechCore program is to gain that passion and want to spread it to students. So I almost feel like it just naturally happens. Once you start to get into programs, I know for me anyway, I then didn't want to go away. I was like, okay, what do you have next? What else can I do? What else can I do? And the good thing is that we have lots of things that people can continue on their TechCore trajectory, if you will. So in 2024, Building Blocks participants received lessons for implementing computer science, which I'm going to take you through a couple quick experiences today. They received Ohio approved credit, so through OKRA, I know that's different in different states. They received a $100 stipend for completion, which was collecting data, so pre and post survey and turning those into us. And then opportunities to participate in a CS-focused community of practice. And when I say CS, I mean computer science. So we had 3 different sessions. We have B is for binary, and in that session, we really focus on how computers are used to store drawings and photographs, and then we explore the CS concepts within those lessons. We have A is for algorithmic thinking, which is where students really learn problem-solving approaches that involve breaking down complex problems. The thing that I love about all three of these sessions, but particularly this one, is that no matter if a student is interested in technology, wants to go into a technology career or not, learning problem-solving approaches is going to help anyone as they move forward in life. So that is probably my favorite of the three, especially coming from the third grade classroom and then moving up to middle school and just seeing the gaps that happen, and that a lot of that lies in those problem-solving approaches and lack of being able to approach those complex problems in different ways and find access points based on where students are in their learning trajectory. So we really like to provide skills that students can learn even outside of tech. And then using technology as the means to gain those skills. We also have C is for careers in computer science, and this is a fun one where students envision themselves in one of the many career pathways of computer science. So we explore a few different careers and provide students with experiences and what that might look like in several different roles. And I also mentioned a community of practice, and that is where folks get peer support, professional growth. They're able to share best practices, collaborate on innovative approaches. One story that I love was from a few of our 2024 participants. They both worked, one of them worked at a Boys and Girls Club, one of them worked somewhere else. They met at this program, they hit it off, and one of them ended up sending their child to the Boys and Girls program because of what they learned about from what was going on there at that site. And so I just love that participants not only are engaging in what we have planned, but they're engaging with each other. And a lot of that is through the way that we approach and facilitate our experiences. And so when we get into the lessons, I'm going to take you through, we have a specific lesson structure, and the three parts of this lesson structure, this comes from a research-based structure called the 5 E's. So we took 3 of these and we work through, we have 3 different sections of our lesson plan, and this is really to focus the learning. We also know that when we recruit staff members in the summer, they might not be educators. They might not have the background of being a teacher. And so being a teacher or an educator is a very, I always call it a craft because the way you interact with students, the decisions you make, which is a lot, we know that some folks might not have that background. They might have this really deep technical background, but might be lacking in the more educator instructor realm. So we try to organize our lessons in a way that it can really focus the learning and make it simple for people to implement these lessons. And so the first part of our lesson is Excite. It's usually 5 to 15 minutes, and it's when we're really trying to capture student interest. We want to make students curious and get them motivated to learn. And this really helps to create a positive learning environment and encourages students to invest in the learning process. One thing that we know about education is that a lot of people think that engagement, or a lot of people think that learning, student learning, comes from engagement. What we actually know is that engagement comes from successful learning opportunities, and that comes from John Hattie's most recent research from Visible Learning, the sequel. And so in planning our lessons, we approach development with thinking, how can we give students a successful learning opportunity during this 5 to 15 minutes so that they feel engaged and they feel like they can access this lesson? And It might be a quick video question and answer. It might be which one doesn't belong, or a 4 blocks question. A lot of times it's something very open where students can discuss an opinion or a prediction. So it's very low risk. So again, that Excite, we're really focusing on getting students a successful learning opportunity right away so that they are engaged in what's happening. And then we move on to the Educate, and this is the meat of the lesson. So this is typically, I would say, depending on what activity it is, 25 to maybe 60 minutes, usually I would say 45. And this is where students are actively investigating concepts through hands-on activities that we have developed. So we really focus on critical thinking, problem solving, and allowing students to construct their understanding. And then we round out the lesson with something called Empower. And this is where students are really developing their identity in computer science and technology, while discussing and reflecting on what they've learned throughout the lessons. And then we really work to connect these to content and careers. The thing I love about this structure is when, as I'm developing, because I am a large part of the curriculum development, and we have a lot of conversations about this as a design team, when we get to that Empower and we're thinking, how can we help develop this identity? It always takes us back to the goal of the lesson. And we have to think about, well, what do we want students to know? What do we want them to walk away with? And how can we get them there? What do they need to discuss, reflect upon, or what other experience do they need to have to feel like, yeah, I can do this? Even if I didn't do something that I thought was amazing or great in the Educate section, how can we bring this back so that every student feels like, okay, I can do this. And I know that even if I didn't finish the task that we just worked on, or I want to keep working on it, or I'm a little more curious, or I'm unsure, I still come back and have this feeling that, okay, this is for me. So what I'm going to do is ask you to put your student hat on for a little bit, and I want to take you through an Excite, Educate, and Empower. And we're going to use the chat, Padlet. If you want to take yourself off mute, go for it. But we're going to go through a few different experiences, and these are not all from the same lesson because I wanted to give you a wide array of experiences. So I'm going to do an Excite from one lesson, an Educate from another, and then an Empower from another lesson, just so that you can have this experience. So again, I'm going to ask you to put your student hat on, think as if your students would think, and try to focus on just being a learner right now, not so much what this might look like with students, because we'll come back and talk about that after these experiences. Okay, so I'm going to have you take a look at this data visualization. And what do you notice? What do you wonder? And feel free to type that in the chat, or if you want to take yourself off mute, feel free. What do you notice, or what do you wonder?
I could take myself off chat.
Yeah, go.
This is Kim. I noticed there are a lot of red, or there's more red than blue. And I wonder what the red and the blue represent.
Okay, love that. There's more red than blue, and what do they represent?
And I wonder, and this is Sheila.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi, I wonder why there are so few yellow.
Why are there so few yellow? I noticed that too. And they're kind of like all in their own little pocket there.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you notice or wonder? And if you do not want to take yourself off mute, feel free to type in the chat. I wonder how many shots there are total. And why dots versus hexagons? Interesting. Steph shoots a lot in or near the paint. There is blue only on one side. Yeah, we can see blue here. Someone said, and this is what's really interesting, is as students talk about this, you're going to know, you're able to gather some information about your students. So someone said, Steph shoots a lot in or near the paint. That tells me that that person knows about basketball because nowhere on this does it say the paint. So we know that about our students. So you get to learn what your students' interests are, where their background knowledge lies. And if we think about even stereotypes and feeding into micro messaging, a lot of people might think that you can't be both an athlete and be smart, or you can't be an athlete and be a computer scientist. So it's really important that students who have these interests are able to experience both and see these experiences through the lens of technology or computer science or data. And this is really, D is for data professionals. So we're looking at data here. Someone wondered if Steph is right-handed or left-handed. Great question. The thing I also love about this is you're not going to have the answers. So what this is a data talk. If you are familiar with Jo Boaler, she is a researcher out of Stanford. She has a website called ucubed.org. I will type it in the chat. You can access free data talks from her website. And what it is it's a low risk way for students to start looking at, thinking about, and discussing data. So we know that data is all around us and it is huge right now. And so it's really important that students have experiences talking about it, seeing it, interpreting it. And this gives them a low risk way that's probably going to be more interesting to students than some other things that they might be used to seeing. So I love the participation, all of the all of the thoughts. Let's see if I missed any. No. Okay. So I'm going to wait just a second. So if anyone has anything else they want to add about what they notice or wonder, or what your students might notice or wonder, feel free to share out. Where can someone get data like this? Great question. So if you go to ucubed.org and you go to, she has a lot of options at the top, but I think Data Talks is one of the options. She has a link where she explains what a data talk is. It's just a quick, easy one pager, which is basically what I just explained. And then, or what's on the one pager is kind of like what I just explained. So it's very brief, but then you can get K-12 activities like this. You can get K2. There are always fun visualizations to go with it. And then she links, I want to say that this comes from, I want to say it's the New York Times has an archive of different data visualizations that they've created so that students can dig into data like this. I'm going to type the website in the chat, and it's ucubed.org. And Jo Boaler is the researcher's name. And I want to say that a lot of them come from the New York Times, but don't quote me on that because I would have to go back and look at the website. But I can get lost in looking through all of the data visualizations that are available because there are some that are just so interesting and have topics that students will definitely be engaged in and excited about. So for this lesson, D is for data professionals. Students do this notice, what do you notice? What do you wonder? So notice, wonder chart, and the teacher, educator will record student thinking. So everything they notice, everything they wonder. And this is a great type of activity for access and equity. So when we think about access, students having access to the curriculum and being able to have their voices heard. I know that having discussions is a time when it's difficult for students to express themselves because maybe they already feel like they're wrong, or maybe they're unsure, or just any plethora of things. We know that students are often used to adults just giving them the answers versus having them come up with the answers. So a notice wonder chart is a way to get all students engaged because any student can come up with something they notice, something they wonder. So what's important about this is that you honor all student thinking. So even if a student says, I notice there's a title, there's a title. I notice that the background is gray. Even if they say something that you're like, that's not really what I was looking for, we honor all student thinking because it's something they noticed, it's something they wondered, they're engaged, and guess what? That's what is going to make them feel successful because they noticed something, their thinking got put up on the chart, and maybe next time they might start thinking a little more like a mathematician or a data analyst. But for now, they're not thinking that way, and that's okay. We're going to get them there. So thank you for your participation in that. Oh, one more thing. So after this, where I'm not going to take you through it, but students go through an activity where they actually have data that they sort and they clean the data, and we talk about careers, the difference between being a data analyst, a data engineer, and doing data visualizations. And students get to tell a story about their data and share that with the group. So they get to experience all three of those different data careers and learn about what those might be like, especially for students who might think, I don't really like numbers, I don't like data, I don't like computing, but they might really like analyzing data and telling a story about it or creating the data visualization. And so it's important that students know that data isn't just numbers that we collect, and it tells a story and there's a context. And so we want students to have all of those experiences. So this is another lesson, and this is R is for robotics, and this is another part of our C is for careers. And so what I want you to do is just look at these roles, these career roles, and just choose one of them in your mind. Let me make sure they're on the, okay. So I'm going to give you a second, and you might want to take a screenshot of this, or if you have a camera nearby, I can come back to it as well. So what I would like for you to do is you're going to choose one of these cards, and then if you could go to the Padlet, and I will drop this in the chat as well. Okay. Let me drop the Padlet in for you. So I'm going to have you go to this Padlet, and you are going to add some traits and skills that would be needed for the career that's on the card you chose. So again, you can choose any card. So you can scan the QR code or you can visit the link that I just put in the chat, and I will go back to the other slide so that you can see the information that's on there. So you can visit the link in the chat, and all I want you to do is just add some skills or traits that would be necessary for one of these careers. And on the Padlet, we have them all listed. We don't have the images there, but you can see each of these programs, and you should be able to just hit the plus sign at the bottom and then type in anything you would like to type. You do not have to put a subject. It says write something beautiful, if you start typing and hit publish, it will show up. I will do one as an example. Can also change the color if you want to get fancy, like I just did, and I just added problem solving. So feel free to start adding some ideas there on the Padlet. And I'm going to leave this screen up with the career roles for just a second, and then I will screen share the Padlet as well. Yes, and if you place one and you decide you want it to go somewhere else, you can put it somewhere else. Oh, is it not letting us put them? Let me see. Color scheme. that might have helped. So I think, yep, okay. Sorry about that. So if you added one of those, that I'm going to drag them down, can pull them back up. I had problem solving under computer programmer. So if you could just pull yours up there under, because it was placing it. So whichever one you added, if you could just pull it under the career you were thinking of. Thank you so much. Appreciate your flexibility there. So some of the skills I'm seeing are attention to detail, for test engineer, love that. Logic for cloud engineer. Computer programmer has a lot right now. Math, problem solving, technical skills, understanding program languages, coding, curiosity. I love that. Perseverance. Yes, organization. Love that. I'm going to add creativity because I think all of these really could use not only creativity and what we think of like creating something new, but creative problem solving, thinking of a way to solve a problem that might be unique, might be something that others might not think about. And I love this curiosity too, because really all of these would require some curiosity. Being open to new ideas. I love understanding the user because that is huge. Understanding what the user wants, what the user needs, what people like. A lot when we think about users, we need to think about access and are all of your users able to access whatever you're creating? So I love these. I love the thinking behind these. Open to new ideas. Love that. And if you are not able to open the Padlet and you want to type in the chat, feel free to type in the chat. I just want everyone to feel like they're able to participate however they would like. So love seeing the different skills and careers there, or skills for careers. So with that, what students would do next. So this is a little bit different than what students would do because students will be given a card. They will get in groups with someone who has the same role card. And then together they come up with this list of traits and skills that would be needed for the career. So if they are cloud engineer in their group, everyone is a cloud engineer and they create a list. And then we have students get with a different group and combine the thoughts together. So look at if you did cloud engineer and someone else did IoT infrastructure or architect, what commonalities do you see? What differences do you see? Are there some that we didn't think about? So if we look here at our Padlet, I'm gonna go ahead and share that. So what are some similarities or differences that we see? And you can type those in the chat. You could type them on the Padlet. You can, if you want to if you see a different way to pull them, to organize them on the Padlet, that would be fine too. And maybe they're not listed there because I don't see a lot of common ones. But maybe we can make those connections. So what might these careers have in common as far as the traits and the skills go? Pull the chat back up. Feel free to take yourself off mute or type it in the chat. Problem solving and logic. Yep, problem solving. Yes, and even though we're not seeing it here, I love that you said that because we see logic, we see problem solving. We know that those are very connected. And then, with creativity, I mentioned that creativity could be creativity in problem solving, or it could be creativity in coming up with a new, unique idea. Problem solving, understanding the user. Yes, even if it's not here, understanding the user is really important for all of these careers because you might have an opinion in something that you like. For example, web design is not on here, but it's in my brain right now because we're really working on our web design program for this summer and tying up loose ends. And understanding the user is huge for web design. And it's really difficult because when I say difficult, it's interesting because when students come in the summer, and it might be their first experience designing a website, they want to create what they want, like their favorite colors and their favorite graphics and links and videos, or the way the website's set up. And you can do that for fun or for your own business. However, if you are in industry and you're working with a user, you have to develop what they want, what's best for them and their client. And so that is a huge one. And same thing for any of these. If you're a programmer, you need to be understanding how the user is going to operate the machine. Willing to listen to feedback. Yes, I love that one. And we see it under software developer, but we know that computer programmers, they do pair programming, they leave comments for each other. You have to be willing to listen to feedback, really in any career. And I love that that was brought up because a lot of our programs have this embedded in it, listening to feedback through a gallery walk. So a lot of our programs will have students, and I know that Building Blocks does this because I helped develop it. Students will come together, they'll do a lesson, they will have this experience with their team, and then we'll do a gallery walk where all of the students can look at the thinking of others and leave feedback for them and then receive their own feedback. So then they can go back to their group and see what feedback students have left them, and they can decide, am I going to apply this feedback, or is this something that I might not apply? So I love that, willing to listen to feedback. And we know that, I always like to connect to mathematics, and we know that being able to justify your thinking and justify the thinking of others is really critical to understanding mathematics and mastering mathematics. So I love this idea of listening to feedback. That's a great one. Anyone want to share anything else regarding that? I don't want to cut anyone off. Okay, I'm going to go back to my slideshow here. Awesome. So thank you for your participation with that. So this is, again, R is for robotics. This is actually the end of this lesson. So, or no, this is the part of the educate. Sorry. This is the first part of the educate. So they get to engage in what some of these different careers might be like. They get to start to talk with their peers, and then they go into a fun problem-solving activity that we tweaked for the robotics context. And so they get to experience that, try to solve that problem, and then come back together at the end and take another look at these careers and how these careers also then connect to a career in robotics, which we already did this. Okay, so this is an example of an empower that we would do. And this I put on here just for educator purposes. We wouldn't necessarily use these specific data points with students. They're just relevant to our conversation here, and that's why we're using them here. So, as you look at them, you might think, oh, I don't know if I would, say that to students. Well, this is more for our learning purposes. So we're going to play a quick game called Higher or Lower. And remember, the intention behind Empower is to empower students to see themselves in a career, see themselves in technology, or understand the importance of them being represented in technology. So I'm going to show you a data point, and you're going to vote whether you think the outlined number is higher or lower than the actual statistic. So, and you can just type that in the chat. You can do LH or higher, lower, however you want to do that. So I'm going to show you the first one. So out of 682 top level executives from 5 top technology companies that employ thousands of engineers, only 25 are African American or Hispanic women. Do you think that the number 25 is higher or lower than the actual number? So do you think that there are more or less than 25 African American or Hispanic women as top level executives in these 5 companies? So I see lower, I see higher. Oh, we have some different thoughts. That's always fun. I love when we have different thinking, because that's what brings out the conversation. If you want to type your reasoning into the chat, feel free. And I will reveal. So it's actually lower. Only 8 are African American or Hispanic women. And you can see that this statistic comes from NSF, the National Science Foundation, from the STEM Labor Force Report. So only 8 out of 682. And when we think about, oh, no worries, Precious. What do you think, what might this mean for our students who are African American or Hispanic girls? Why might technology programming be really important for those students? And you can feel free to take yourself off mute. You can type it in the chat. I'll retype the question. I'm just going to put I see it. So that tells me, because there are 2 people who thought the voting was different, that I could have explained it incorrectly. So I will make sure next time I'm more clear about that on the next slide. So what might this mean for our African American or Hispanic girls and or Hispanic girls if we know that only 8 top level executives and I'm really working on my wait time, so if it gets awkward, just know that that's something I'm working on. Love these. So Ontaria, I hope I said your name correctly. Please correct me if not. There aren't many seats at the table for them. I love that. There haven't been many seats at the table made available for them. Yes, love that. Maybe they didn't have the education needed to develop those fundamental skills. Love that. They need opportunities to experience the content and learn about these careers. Yeah. We do not. Oh, I love this one, Precious. I love this one. So the thought behind this statistic for these girls could be, we don't belong, we're not good enough. It will be difficult to make it in that industry. It gives me chills even saying that out loud, because that is such a powerful thought for girls to have about themselves. And it is important that they understand that they do belong, they are good enough, and we don't just say that. We make spaces where they are belonging in these industries. And the way it starts is through these opportunities. And like Devin said, the opportunities aren't equitable. Is systematically inequitable. Yes, they need to be exposed to these careers, as well as being shown who the 8 women are so they know it's a career that they can have. I love that. Representation is so important, and we ensure that our staff members, our volunteers, the folks that we work with have a wide array of representation for our students. We want our students to see themselves in our programs. And if every single person who instructs a program looks and acts and talks like me, they're not going to see that. And so we ensure that we don't just have people with the same experiences, the same background. We try to make sure that they are diverse and inclusive spaces. Love these thoughts. Thank you for your participation with that. I'm going to read this as I think. There's also the shift in thinking that while girls can do better than boys in math at a younger age, at some point that belief changes and boys are seen better at math, when that's not how things started with in the first place. We need to build their confidence in math and science so that they can become interested in those careers. Yes, Kimberly, I love that. Actually, by 3rd grade, students decide whether they are good or bad at math. And I taught 2nd grade and I taught 3rd grade. And when I learned this statistic, it's one that we use in a lot of our grants that we write. When I learned that statistic, I thought, all right, I'm going to try to see this in my students, in my classroom. And I could see it. By 3rd grade, these girls were already, I had a 3rd grade student who I'm very proud of now. She is she's going into high school and she's in advanced math classes. She's in advanced science classes. When she came to me in 3rd grade, she said, I was afraid to be in your class because everyone said you did a lot of math and you loved math and I'm not good at it. And per standardized testing, she had the highest scores in mathematics in my class and thought she wasn't good at math. And that broke my heart because how could a child with that high of achievement and have the skills, but not have the confidence and not have the expanded opportunities? And so it's very, very important that we not only build these skills, but we build the confidence within the skills and within these students as well. Love that thinking. And so that was just an example of an empower. It was quick. And it's this or that. Would you rather have this career or that career? And they're discussing why. We have one in our CS Ed Week activities that went out where students answer like 5 questions that are this or that questions. And based on their interests, there were 2 careers and they either would read about this career or that career. So it might say, do you like to draw and create sketches? If the answer is yes, it might lead them more towards this career. If the answer is no, it might lean more this way. So again, that was an example of an empower. So we'll just type this in the chat, or take yourself off mute because we are getting to the end here. So, if you want to share, I love to, I don't want you to just hear me talking the whole time because your experiences are valuable as well. And, many of you are likely in the classroom now or working with students. So thinking about what we just talked about, how might this program connect to expanded learning opportunities for students? So when we think about after-school programs, a lot of after-school programs, I know in the state of Ohio, they have to meet these expanded learning opportunities, which are where students learn about careers, they engage in problem solving, and they have all of these different experiences that aren't considered academic. So how might this connect to expanded learning opportunities? If you have those in your programming or school, you might be able to connect to that. What new experiences and opportunities might this program provide for students? And how could you envision using this program in your current role? So any of those that you want to reflect on, you can put in the chat. You can take yourself off mute and share. I would love to hear your voices. Or, just go ahead and type it out. So I will read those as they come in. Sorry, let's see. Trying to see the chat and okay.
Hey, Miss Pratt, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So my name is Devin Swift. I work for Chicago Youth Centers. I'm our manager of STEAM. And so one, thank you so much for your presentation. I got a chance to utilize some of you guys' activities during Computer Science Week last December. And so I liked the activity where it was kind of like a Shark Tank type of activity, kind of sort of. And then I also liked the one where it was like it asked the students different like questions about different technology, and then they would have to answer like, okay, so what would be the cause of this piece of technology doing this particular thing? And so going into um the career base the career role card right now in our STEAM program, we're trying to incorporate more career exploration. And so a lot of the different things that you talked about would coincide with some of the things that we're trying to do. So hopefully when I get a chance, I'll go back on like you guys' website to look to see like all your other programs so you could kind of start implementing those in the fall.
I love hearing that, and I love that you participated in CS Ed Week. So I love that you mentioned that because that is a way our resources are zero cost and everything's already developed and ready to go. And it has these different sections of the lessons that we just talked about. And we had something in the lesson that was where students would create a Shark Tank pitch for something. And that activity and just that idea of students creating a pitch, we do that for our hackathons as well. And we had feedback from industry partners from Progressive Insurance when they saw our students doing this activity at hackathon. They said, oh my goodness, this is amazing because every meeting we get on, if we are the project lead, we only have 60 seconds to share with the team the main points. And so if we want to get across, if we want this project to be taken on or be considered, we need to really think about what should we say in 60 seconds so that these folks know that we know what we're doing. And so I love that that was something that students really enjoyed. And I'm excited that you came back for this presentation after using our CS Ed Week lessons.
Yes, that's exactly the reason why I jumped on this, because I wanted to see more of what you guys offer. So I appreciate that so much.
Love that. Anyone else think about how you might envision this program or what new experiences something like this might bring to your students? I'll give it a couple more seconds just to see. Don't want to cut anyone off, but feel free to take yourself off mute, type it in the chat. I know within the development, one thing that we really discussed was this idea of looking at careers for our younger students. So the CS Ed Week lessons were for 3rd through 8th grade. And so when we think about looking at careers as a 3rd grader, we know that we're really training students for careers that we probably don't even know about yet. We're training students for future careers that aren't even existing right now, right? So when we think about teaching students about careers in the 3rd grade at 8 years old, it seems like, well, how could we be teaching them about careers? But we're really looking at the skills and the technical skills and the characteristics that go into having that career and the thinking and just exposing them to these different roles that they have and these different possibilities. I know code.org has a video up on their website. And I know that I want to say, oh, I don't want to say that. I think it's Chris Bosch that's in the video, NBA player. But they compare computer science to playing an instrument. A student would not get to college and decide they want to play an instrument and they want to be a professional musician. However, we expect students to just decide that they want to go into computer science with no prior experience, no understanding, no technical skills that they have built around this role. And so it's important that if we want students to do something in the future, we have to start to expose that to them at a younger age. So I'm going to show you another quick video, and this is from our last, or not our last, but one of our first building block sessions in the fall. And you can see that they were, in the start of this video, they are looking at the D is for data professionals lesson that we looked at.
The building blocks of computer science equips out-of-school time educators with the skills and resources needed to inspire the next generation of technology leaders. C is for careers in computer science introduces educators to in-demand careers in technology. Educators are empowered to bring these fields to life for their students.
Data science is like up and booming right now. It's a very popular career.
Careers in data science are rapidly growing. And for students, understanding this field opens up endless opportunities. We help educators identify and leverage their unique strengths so they can foster each student's potential.
What we learned in the training today is everyone has different strengths, and different strengths can be used in different areas. So I think just the ability to identify and understand that their strengths play a part with everything big picture. I think it opens up the door for the young people to do whatever they set their minds to.
Encouraging critical thinking is at the core of what we do. By helping students reframe and analyze problems, we're guiding them toward creative problem-solving skills.
I get really excited about thinking. Look at how Tanisha is trying to take the words and the letters out and put them into a different configuration that might help her think about it.
Challenging students through these tech-focused activities isn't just about the skills, it's about building resilience and a growth mindset that they can take with them into any future career.
I think this kind of learning is very important because it challenges you. A lot of times kids don't want to accept challenges. When we do things like this, it helps our kids to be able to, when they go out in the real world, and be able to confidently they put their minds to.
Educators learn to help students explore user-focused thinking and gain practical experience that can spark passion for tech.
You are going to be creating your ideal website. I think they really enjoy it because they are used to using different websites and things like that, and they're more educated on it than I am. So giving them the option to create their own website will probably be really cool.
Our mission is to bridge the gap between educators and emerging tech fields, preparing students for a world where digital skills and innovation are key. At TechCore, we're proud to support educators in making a lasting impact on the next generation of tech leaders.
So one thing I love there that Chase said was that students often don't like to face challenges. And a lot of that is because they have not had to. We often, I say we as educators, as adults, we want to help students. And so a lot of times that turns into us rescuing students when it might feel uncomfortable as they struggle. We really like to embrace that productive struggle and show students that you might struggle and you can still get through that and you can learn. And that is how we learn. If everything were easy, you wouldn't be coming to school, right? So students often don't face those challenges because they don't think they can be successful because they think adults have to give them the answers. And we really try to put the sense making and the thinking and the learning back on the students. And so just wanted to share before I wrap up, our monthly newsletter is there. If you scan this QR code, it will take you to our website, or our website is also techcore.org, and you can sign up for our newsletter if you would like to stay in the know about that. There's also an email to contact. This is my email, ksmith@techcore.org. If you want to learn more about programming in your area, or you saw something that you were like, I really want to do this, or maybe you're interested in our computer science education lessons that will be coming out this coming year. December is Computer Science Education Week, and so we'll start that planning here soon. And I know it's crazy to think about. It is May, and I just said we're going to start planning for December soon. But that's how we operate, right? We want to make sure we have good quality lessons out there for students and educators. So if that's something you're interested in, or you're like, hey, I want to know how I can get building blocks here for myself and other educators I know, feel free to send me an email and just let me know you were on this call and you would like more information. And then if you have time and are willing, I would love to get some feedback about this session. So there is a QR code there, as well as a link. And I know that the conference will likely give you a feedback form as well. This is different. This will just come straight to me. So if you could just fill that out or scan the QR code and fill that out, I would appreciate it. I also put my phone number, or not my phone number, goodness, the email back there from the last screen so that you could have it. And I want to read, Megan did type something into the chat that I want to read. Introducing STEM programs and building a foundation is so important. It allows them to succeed and feel confident and empowered if they decide to go into a STEM career. Yes, I love that. And one thing that I did forget to mention, we talked about math, is that the #1 gatekeeper to STEM careers is algebra. And so when we think about teaching mathematics, teaching those algebra standards, as students start to even go into middle school and high school, it's really critical that at an early age, students have access to quality mathematics instruction and they start to build their confidence there, and that we catch those girls before 3rd grade, before they think they're bad at math. Because if the #1 gatekeeper to STEM careers is mathematics, and we know specifically what domain of mathematics, then we've got to work harder to strengthen those skills and the confidence in that area. And if you have any questions, I would take questions. If you have any comments or thoughts, or were able to make a connection or have experience with TechCore, I would love to hear that or share it with the group. So feel free if you would like to share any ideas. And other than that, that's what I have for you today. Thank you for joining me, being here today. And Emily, thank you for inviting us to share with this great group.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for coming and sharing these great resources and insights. It's been wonderful. Thank you everybody who has participated. This was a great session, and we do have a session at noon Eastern, I guess 11 Central, depending on which time zone you're in. So coming up in about 10 minutes about Teen Science Cafe. So when you leave this meeting, you can go back into the lobby and then join to learn about some great opportunities coming up with Teen Science Cafe from Sheila James. So thank you so much, Kryssie. Thank you, everyone. Definitely check out more resources from TechCore. They got a lot of good things going there.
Love that. Definitely check out Sheila's presentation. She is a longtime friend of TechCore, so I know she's going to bring great things to the next session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.